You changed my life.
You're welcome, my child. No, how
Man,
so?
oh, because every day I have to think about you because when I go in the cold plunge, you made that possible. I used to buy ice every single day, go to the store, and then I would fill my freezer with freaking ice blocks, and then I would like pull it in, and it would be like a huge hassle. And since you got me my Sub-Zero, it's just easy. I dive in, I open that lid, and then I'm ready to
You're
go.
done,
Yeah,
right? You did the hardest thing that you could have the entire day in the first, well, hopefully 10 minutes of the day.
yeah.
Knock that shit out and just conquer the rest of the day, right?
That's right. And every morning, people always think like I love it, but I hate it. Every morning, I stand in front of it and I have to really, I put on David Goggins on YouTube and then I just go in because I'm like, I have to fight this like inner bitch every morning.
I hate see people that say they love cold plunging. Like, no, you don't. You don't like to be in pain and uncomfortable. Like you
Yeah.
like what happens like the after, you like the mental clarity, you like the dopamine, you like the energy, you like to do something difficult and jumpstart your day. But if I ever hear anyone say they like to cold plunge, that no, you don't. You're just saying that because you want to seem like you're tough. Like
Yeah.
no, you absolutely not. That's a lie. I don't enjoy it. Like I really don't. Like, but I do it because I feel better. That's
Yeah.
it.
And I think that's like the whole point. Every time somebody tells me like I'm not good with cold, I'm like, perfect. That is going to make it even better because then it's going to be so much more good for you because then you got to really conquer yourself if you hate it that much, right? If you like kind of like the cold, it's not going to be as effectful like that huge mountain that you're going to climb if you really hate it. So every time somebody really hates it, I think it would be really beneficial for them.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just like if you do anything, right? It doesn't matter if it's a cold plunge or not. Like, if you do the shit that you don't want to do, right, you're going to be more resilient. You're going to create more momentum. And I was listening to Huberman. He's like obviously the goat with all this, but essentially there's a part in your brain where if you do difficult things consistently, this part of your brain grows, right? And like it becomes easier and easier to do the difficult things. It doesn't matter if it's cold plunging, working out, doing, maybe administrative tasks for your business that you don't want to do. When you go into things that you don't want to do, it grows that part of your brain and become essentially mentally stronger. When you go away from it, right, where they have that day you don't want to cold plunge, you go, well, I'm going to cold plunge, but let me get a cup of coffee first, or let me turn the heat on in the house, or let me check my emails real quick, and I got a couple of posts I want to, and you're procrastinating, right? That act of procrastinating and pushing off what you know you need to do, that part of your brain shrinks and becomes weaker. So when you get in the rhythm, and I'm sure you've done this before, where you do this in the morning, right? You do the cold plunge, you go to the gym, and then everything else thereafter, you're downhill, right? Because you just ate shit in the morning, you did all the shit you didn't want to do, it's good for you, and now you feel stronger, you feel more confident, you conquered your inner bitch. Everything is downhill. Versus we've had the day where you go, okay, cool, I'm cold plunging. Yeah, 5:59, I'm going to cold plunge. You wake up, you hit snooze, and you go, shit, and you wake up an hour and a half later, you're like, oh, man, oh, crap, I'm late. I don't have time to do this. Oh, man, I'm going to get a half-ass workout. I'll do this later. I got to jump in and do, these emails and administrative tasks. By the end of the day, you just feel like shit. You're like, damn it, like I didn't do it today. I wasn't on today. I missed it, right? And so if you can just compile those little wins. Doesn't matter if it's cold. It's cold plunging is, for me, a big part of it. It helps a lot. But I just feel like that mental momentum. Just to be more of what you are, be more of what you want to be. And I think just driving into that is like, just do the shit you don't want to do, and life will be so much better.
I always have to think about this quote: "The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding."
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And also about like David Goggins saying that you have to like put like calluses on your mind. Like he also talks about like all these like fitness people that like just do the exercises that they want to do. And I think with the cold plunge, it's so nice because you always hate it. It's not like CrossFit where like I have my favorite workout. When it's like DT, I'm like, hell yeah. There's no like I have to put myself in the gym and force myself to get my shoes on or any of that. So with the cold plunge, it always sucks, which makes it like the ultimate calluses to make my mind more powerful. It's the ultimate challenge, and it always sucks. Like the ice on the skin, just how it takes your breath away. But then after, so listen to this. I thought I was a pretty good cold plunger, right? I've been cold plunging for months and months and months. I always buy ice. I put it in. It's like it. At least the thing on top tells me it's like under 40. So I'm pretty confident when I got your unit, right? And then I realized that the water temperature on top where I put the ice is actually not the same as on the bottom. And then once I got your unit and it like the whole filtration system at the whole unit is one temperature. It's all 37 and it's like it's all one. And then once I dived in, I was suffering for like a month straight. I felt like pain in my fingers, in my like wrists, in my toes. It was like full pain mode for a month. And then after a month, like you said, you're just like, here we go again. It fucking hurts, but this is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm that motherfucker. You know, you're
Yeah.
sitting in there and you're like, this like you're not in here, I'm in here, and I know people don't do this. I'm the one that's in here, and you see it as a very positive kind of thing. But you really have to get like through that initial phase. But eventually, it really changed how I cold plunge, and I wanted to thank you for that for sure.
Yeah, man. I'm glad that I could help you out with it. I'm glad that you could, kind of continue to spread the news about it and really just help people, right? Because, like there's so many benefits from cold plunging that I mean, probably a lot of listeners already know about like the dopamine, norepinephrine, mood, pain, inflammation. I feel like most of Americans are extremely inflamed, but I think one of the biggest things that people don't talk about is people are kind of pretty fucking weak, right? People are weak-minded. Life is so blasé. Life is so easy, and people just start becoming very, very soft. And so, like, giving yourself things that are tough, that are simple, like simple tough. That's why I like the Subzero. It's simple tough. It's really simple. Just jump in. 3 minutes, not that long, right? It's simple, but it's fucking tough,
Yeah.
right? And you get out of that, and it's like, damn, that was the most productive 3 minutes that you could have done in your entire day. And that 3 minutes probably just gave you an hour and a half back because you're not procrastinating. You're in the mindset of, okay, shit, I just did this. What's next? Okay, cool. Done. What's next? Done. What's next? Done. If you can just keep that mentality straight, you're going to be so much more powerful as a man. You're going to be so much more successful as a business owner. You're going to be a better husband. You're going to be a better leader. You're going to be better for your community. Like that is the mentality that needs to be harvested out of this. It's like it's a small thing, right? But it makes a big impact over turn consistently. And so that I feel like that's just like one of these little aspects that isn't brought up as much about it. Like if you just look at it online, people are trying to look cool and sexy and tough in a cold plunge. But I think getting more information just about like the mentality and how it can shape you to be a better person, like that's what I've noticed from doing it for a longer time. Like it just makes me more resilient and more focused.
And more stoic and like appreciative of it's so hard to like appreciate life and like what you have, but every time I get out of the cold plunge I'm like happy to be alive, and I'm in the moment. A lot of times like I'm in my head and I think about all like the social media and all the money and all the stuff that I gotta do, and when I do those 3 minutes, you come out and you're very clear and you got out of your head, you're in full presence at least for like the next couple hours, and it's intense and it's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think part of that too is like how like to stop your brain, right?
Yeah.
And so I used to do the cold plunge. Like I was doing it always in the morning because I felt like for me that was a good momentum. And I was like, okay, let me shift because I would catch myself in the middle of the afternoon, right? That 2, 3 o'clock, just like I'm burnt out, I'm tired. I've got my phone, I got 2 phones, business phone, personal phone. Things are buzzing, people have problems, there's issues, there's fires to put out, there's people to help, people need to call us back. I got to answer these emails, customer has this question. Going. I got 15 thoughts going in and out, and I just gotta stop, do one thing at a time, and then I just go, okay, well, I'm getting stressed. I need to take a step back, and you jump in that, and it's 3 minutes of meditation, deep meditation, because you're not thinking about, okay, cool, I got to get this email, I got to talk this person back. I'm like, okay, I just got to keep you just go into the zone where you're just there with yourself. And you got 3 minutes and you're just kind of thinking through the time, and then you get away from the time, you just ease into it, you let go. And then when you come out of that, you're like immediately just refreshed. Like if you've ever done you have ever done any kind of like meditation? What kind of meditation have you done?
Like like Buddhist
Okay.
sitting just
Okay.
in front of a wall
Okay. Like
for hours and hours.
hours and hours.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I couldn't. I mean, I guess I could do that, but like, it reminds me a lot of like transcendental meditation. If you've ever done it, it's basically mantra based meditation. And the goal isn't for this type of meditation isn't to not think about anything, right? But it's more of like a grounding meditation where you say this mantra over and over and let the thoughts that come, you kind of just digest them. But you will come to a certain point where you almost won't really think about anything, and like your energy just like focuses down and it's really still. Like the vibration is very still, and when you come out of that, you're really focused. And cold plunging, it brings that like, but really fast. It's like a shot of it,
Yeah.
right? So it brings that really fast. And so I notice whenever I do that, I'm more, then I got 3 or 4 more hours of productivity where I'm highly efficient because I'm not stressed. I'm not coming from a point of, I got all this shit to do. I'm trying to get it done real quick. I kind of sit down a little bit more like, okay, how can I fix this problem so I don't have it again? Let me think about this a little bit more seriously. Let me be just a little bit more mindful of this and solve that. And I notice sometimes like when I do that, I'm like, oh wow, I'm 15% more effective at what I'm doing for 3 minutes of pain.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Absolutely. So when did Subzero start? Maybe you can tell me like how it all started and how long you've been doing this, or like maybe explain really quick what Subzero is.
Well, I mean, Subzero is it. You know, for the product in the company, it's a premium cold plunge, right? So I've been into cold plunging and cold water immersion for about 12 years, and I've done like the home units, tried to build them, and I just noticed that the chillers, they weren't really made for this; they would break, and I just noticed that they weren't built correctly, right? Where they would last 6 months and break, and that would be a pain in the ass. Or you get the ice, and it's not convenient. So you don't want to get ice every day, and you're going to skip out on it. And so I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way. I built like 5 or 6 different test units, and then got tied in with a manufacturer, and then really designed them with an engineer through a partner of mine, and Subzero was born. Right.
How long ago?
So Subzero's been about 18 months now.
Okay.
So it's just pretty much out of necessity to try to create an efficient, reliable cold plunge that very easy to use, extremely dependable, and had a reasonable price point. And so that was it. I just wanted to be able to create something for myself that was super easy to use, and then if it helped me, then it could help other people. That was it.
Epic.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's simple. Like really, it wasn't like this crazy plan to try and make a shit ton of money. It was really for me is like it's something that I needed because before the company was ever like even a thought. I would like you're an athlete. I used to be an athlete as well. I trained MMA for 9 years. Almost went professional, and I was close to getting the pro card. And I was talking to my coaches, and they're like, well, go out to California. Like, that's the Mecca. I was up from Chicago. And, let's go see what it is. And I saw like the talent in California versus where it was in Chicago was just like, holy shit. Like, people were intense. And so the training was so intense. And so this was 2 hours of training in the morning, 3 hours of training in the evening, sleep, repeat 7 days a week. And my body just couldn't take it. And I had a career-ending injury.
What kind of training? Is it a mix between jiu-jitsu, kickboxing?
Yeah. So the way we do it is basically you would do like an hour of like Greco-Roman wrestling or just normal wrestling with submissions, jiu-jitsu, and then Muay Thai, and then boxing.
Okay.
And then you tie them all together. And then you would kind of pick apart where you're weakest at. So maybe for you, you're like me. You're a little bit short, a little bit stockier.
Yeah.
I was better at jiu-jitsu and just the ground game just because the leverage points for me, I was 170. I would compete at 170 at about 5'8". So guys were taller, so it was easier to be on the ground. And so that's good, right, for starting, but you need to be able to stand and bang. So go do some Muay Thai fights. Go do 20 Muay Thai fights. Go do 40 or 50 boxing fights. And you focused in on that. So we're always focusing on your weakness. So you get beat up a lot, and so there's right ways to train and wrong ways to train. And I trained the wrong way. Like it was just going in as hard as you could, and my body just couldn't take it. So constant. I mean, anyone that's going to be in that sport, they're going to have constant injuries, broken fingers. You're going to tear muscles. You're going to get eye gouged. You're going to have sprains. You're going to twist your ankle. You're going to break your toes. It's never ends, right? With that type of sport, or really any high level sport at all. And so, my final injury was a back injury, and I tweaked it in the gym and tore my quadratus lumborum, which is like a stabilizer on the right side, and then it started degenerating the discs, and so I had like really bad like sciatica and drop foot, and so I like couldn't train anymore at all, and then I couldn't walk anymore, and then like I got drop foot. It was like really fucked up.
What's drop foot?
Like where you literally can't bring your foot up.
Okay.
And so I was like, I went from like being a professional, like top tier athlete that was going to conquer the world, that had some friends that had connections in Bellator and this was going to go everywhere, to being like, can I
walk?
Can I get to the kitchen?
Yeah.
Can I get to the mailbox? And I finally had a surgery, and the surgery fucked me up. Like a year, couldn't walk.
What kind of surgery?
It was a laminectomy. So basically, laminectomy is where if you have disc injuries and you have a nerve that's being pinched, they drill into the spine and open up that hole to give the room for the nerve. And it fucked me up. Like, dude, I couldn't sit for 15, 20 minutes. I couldn't walk. So I was pretty much just laying on the ground. Right. And so I still had this thing where it's like fucking every day I would go to the gym. Like I would have to do something, and I'm laying on the ground. I can't fucking work out. And I'm like, I went from 210 pounds to 145 pounds. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what do I do? Like, this is the identity crisis. I don't know what the fuck to do. And so I'm like, let me at least just go to the gym, and I would be like, okay, well, what could I do? I would fucking sit in the jacuzzi and then take a cold shower. And I felt better. And I would just did that consistently. And it was something for me that was like, mentally, I didn't want to do it, but I knew if I could do something that I didn't want to do, I'd feel at least like I did something that day. And so that's what kind of started it all, is like, how can I get the same type of feeling from the gym without really being able to exercise? And so by doing that for, several years, and then getting into cold water immersion, and then eventually, through about 9 years of rehab, like physical therapy rehab, finally got over the majority of the chronic injuries to where I can go back to the gym now and train to an extent. Nowhere near like you can train, but train enough to where it looks like I know what I'm doing. I look like I'm in pretty good health, but it's extremely well calculated and dialed in. And, there's a lot of days where, I have to look at the gym and I turn it down. I'll go to the gym, and, for a lot of people, it's like, hey, like, do more, increase it, go heavier. I'm like, do as light as you can. Do not injure yourself. Tie the body together. Get the core engaged to the shoulders, to the hips. Do full body movements. Make sure that everything's in a line and that you're not too inflamed. And then from there, create the momentum, and then just try to be as healthy and vibrant as possible. So that's where like the cold plunging has really, helped me really just mentally. It was a mental stress that made me feel good. I didn't know why. Now we know it's the dopamine, the norepinephrine, the feel good feelings. But for that, man, if I didn't have something like that, man, it would have just been opiates, like for sure.
Jesus.
And it was for a while,
Yeah.
So
I don't have that intense story, but when my first son was born, I got a mom thumb because I would always throw him like really a lot, like the whole day kind of, because I'm like social media, right? So I'm always home, I'm always with the kid, and my thumb was, I couldn't, this was like as far as I could go, the whole wrist thing, it's called like a mom thumb. Where you cannot touch this anymore, and it's so inflamed here, your wrist point, because he's like a 25-pound like object that moves like crazy, wiggles. So I got a mom thumb, and they wanted me to shoot steroids in it. And then once I started cold plunging, it just went away by itself. And I would notice if I don't cold plunge, it will get quicker inflamed and quicker irritate me again than when I do. And I could just um, get it away by myself, just cold plunging all the time. That was like an easy fix that I instantly like saw how much inflammation it takes away, especially when you have things that like nag you. Another thing is like when I would wake up and it was like barbell, and I feel like I cannot, like a truck ran over me and I cannot go to the gym. And I would go in the cold plunge and I come out of the cold plunge and I'm like, I'm ready to go. Like instant inflammation reduction where you can like hit again a workout quicker, which means you're gonna just work out more and you're gonna be fitter in the long run, which is also a game changer.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that like, especially as an athlete, like the not even actually as an athlete, I think the inflation, like we have so much inflammation just in our bodies, just from the shit foods that we eat,
Yeah.
and so like the type of meats that we eat, all the processed foods. I mean, we're drinking a fucking sugar-free Red Bull right now. I'm sure this isn't that good, but I needed something, right? But like our bodies are constantly inflamed.
Yeah.
And so like you do need to do something, especially if you want to like hold on to this meat vessel for a while.
Yeah.
You got to be doing something every day. You got to be working towards, especially if you're working out. Your body, like so many people, this they get jacked, they get big, and then they get injured, and then this is a reoccurring cycle of like going up, getting injured, going down, going up, getting injured, going down, and so being able to do these type of things, whether it's cold plunging, changing diets, just to reduce that inflammation and just train a little bit smarter. As we know, as we're getting older, it's like training smarter is like, okay, let's not go so hard because we beat the shit out of ourselves and I can't lift for 4 or 5 days, right? So doing those things consistently, if you're trying to hold on to this for a long time, it's a damn necessity, in my opinion.
What about can you tell me about the fasting? So I was on the fast, and then my wife thought she was gonna give birth, and I'm like here fucking with a headache, not eating for like fucking a day, right? I've only been like in for like, I don't know, I was only in for 18 hours or something. Got a crazy headache and felt overall like weak as hell. I guess I've never done a fast before, but I always like, I'm aware of the benefits. Maybe you can tell me how often you do that and why you do that.
So I got into fasting, not really, to be honest, I didn't try to do it to be super healthy. I did it because I noticed that my mental capacity was better when I was fasted, right? To where if I didn't eat breakfast, I just had a cup of coffee and went to work, those first 4 hours or so were just pretty dialed in.
Yeah.
And I noticed if you ate, you get you get lethargic after, depending what you eat. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm more productive when I don't eat. And so let me just kind of push off eating and then eat more towards the end of the day because that generally made me tired, right? And that worked for me because my sleep sucks. So I'm like, okay, I'll have my energy during the day without eating, and then I'll eat in the evening. That'll help me kind of bring me down so I can kind of like relax towards the end of the day and go to sleep. And so I started feeling a lot better like that. And then, my body composition started feeling better. And then my injury started feeling better. Okay, this is kind of cool. And then started like, digging deeper into research in it. And then you got really big into carnivore and just decreasing inflammation all around with high quality meats. And then I would just kind of basically fast for 18 hours a day. And I felt really good. And then I was like, well, let me push it further and see if I can kind of clean my body out. And then just do a 3-day fast. And do a 3-day fast and you feel really good. You feel clear. Your body feels
headache?
better. No, not really. Most of the headaches that I've noticed from people that are fasting, it's usually from carbohydrate dependency and sugar.
Yeah.
Because the carbohydrate cravings, that's what fuck a lot of people up. Is you're just used to constantly being fueled by carbs. When you switch to more of like ketogenic or where you're eating more fats, you don't have that dependency on the carbohydrates, and your body's basically burning that fat, so you don't get those swinging headaches from the switch from carbohydrates. So I never really got the headaches because of that. And then also by making sure that you have the correct type of electrolytes, just basically a little bit of salt, a little bit of electrolytes, a little bit of lemon, no real headaches. So the 3 days weren't really anything difficult. And then I wanted to push it and I go, shit, okay, well, I felt pretty good on this. I'm like, plus I look really lean. It's like I would do it like I'm a bro, right? So it'd be like, hey, we got a pool party this weekend. I'm like, cool. Let me fast for 48 hours and then eat some meat and go to the gym and like good. And I got like 2 more abs. I'm like, great. And so it was literally just me being a bro. It felt good. And then getting deeper into the research on fasting and understanding like how after that 72 hours, your body starts releasing a lot of the human growth hormone. And for me, that's important because I have so many injuries and so many inflammation. I'm like, cool, let me focus on that and try to get my inflammation down. And so by, combining the diet with fasting and cold plunging, like my pain went from 7 or 8 out of 10 to like 2. And I was like, holy shit. I haven't not had had a day where I don't have pain for like a decade. And so I'm like, this is the shit right here. Like this is the best drug. And the best thing about it is it's not only is it cheap, it's fucking free. Right? You don't have to do anything, just don't eat. Right? And so just by feeling the benefits of that I do a 3-day fast every 2 months or so, and then a 7-day fast probably every 6-ish months.
7 day?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Yeah. The last one I only made 6.5.
What happened?
Dude, like I was I mean, I was working out every day, right? Which some people, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, you'll be fine. Just go to the gym, just live normal life. Don't change anything because it fucks with your head. And I just remember on the 6th day, like I would go, like my brain would basically like, you walk in the kitchen, you're like, what did I come in here for? And like I would be like behind my computer, I'd be like reading an email, like read something. Like, what did I just read? I'd be typing something out. I'm like, what am I typing? I'd be like, whoa, like, holy shit, like I don't have my brain at all. And then I would go into like hyper focus, like super dialed in, just like felt like you just took a bunch of Adderall and had a bunch of caffeine, like just dialed in, super focused. And I'd be like, well, this is like a weird swing coming back and forth. And then I would just kind of get up and get a little bit lightheaded and get down. And I was like, okay, like I'm in my apartment by myself. Like I'm trying to get through this workers piling up. I'm like, maybe it's time to eat. Yeah. All right. So I just felt like at that point, like for me, maybe it was just the diminishing return where I was like, maybe the benefits aren't going to outweigh the risks right now. So I'm like, time to eat 6 steaks. And I felt so much better. Yeah.
Damn. So what else do you do for your overall health?
I mean, I'm really big. I got big into like the Gary Brecka, like the 10X health systems about 2 years ago. So DNA testing and blood work, essentially just figuring out, number one, what foods should you eat? The foods that you should eat and that I should eat should be completely different, right? So like I'm carnivore. I don't think everyone should be carnivore. I don't know what your body can digest. I don't know where you're from. I don't know your ancestry. Everybody's body's different.
So you did the Gary Brecka test?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which for me was perfect. It was like pretty much just eat meat and like eggs and minimal vegetables and a little bit of fruit. I'm like, bet.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
You already kind of knew.
So I kind of just knew that just from like, and that's the thing that like I think fasting will do as well. Like when you get off a fast, the food that you crave is generally going to be the food that your body like wants. Yeah. Right? You like people aren't like craving donuts and ice cream after a fast. You're generally like it's some type of protein. Right? There's some kind of proteins and fats that most people are they should have most of that kind of nutrition. So I feel like if for you maybe it's chicken or salmon or red meat, that's an indication that your body should be eating more of those foods. So my body kind of just told me that just by listening to it and seeing what made me feel good. So that was an indication and push towards that. And I wanted to take it to the next level. Got the test with that, trying to, again, pain management without pain meds. And so I did the DNA test and the blood work. And so the food I was eating was pretty consistent with what I should do. And then the other aspect of it was the supplementation for like methylation. So your body digests different like key minerals. Sometimes your body can't digest them and they have adverse side effects. So for me, folic acid, anything that's enriched, fortified grains, wheats, pastas, there's a molecule called the folic acid where in the gut, it can't digest it. And it sends a signal to my brain, which causes OCD and ADHD tendencies. So by removing those types of foods, right, and then supplementing with a supplement, I can't remember off the top of my head, MFTHR. No, that's the genetic break. I'd have to look at the supplement. But by taking a supplement, it allows your body to digest those types of foods, which gives you less of the OCD, ADHD tendencies. So by kind of like tweaking the dial with that, adjusting the diet, taking the supplements, working out, cold plunging, and then the hardest part is getting the right amount of sleep, for me at least. And so I notice when I can get all that tuned in, I'm on point. The hardest part is to balance it all. But yeah, it's like, for me, it's like, man, there's nothing really better than just the fast, really. Like the just fasting and getting your shit tuned in and giving your body a break and just recovering. Like mentally, you just feel just strong, focused.
Nice. And any other supplements you take?
Other supplements. I mean, I'm not
Creatine or anything?
I take creatine. So I mean, I have a pretty long list of supplements. Right now, I take a lot of vitamin D because there's not enough sun. I try to get sun, do a morning walk. Other than that, I take SAM E at the end of the day, and then I do some peptides as well. BPC 157, which are you familiar with that at all?
Joe Rogan keeps talking about it.
Right.
About peptides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
and how the FDA want to take him to make more money.
Because they fucking work.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
As long as the source is, because all it is amino acid chain.
Yeah.
It's a chain of amino acids, like just so you had in your wrist. Right. I had a couple of the cortisone shots in my shoulder.
Yeah.
And
I know that's what they wanted to do with cortisol. Yeah.
Fucks, dude, that destroys tendons and ligaments.
Yeah.
Completely. Right. Because it's you're not getting blood flow.
Yeah.
Right.
I know they told me you can only do it like 5 times anyways. And then you're like kind of done.
And it just destroys it long term.
Yeah.
And so what BPC 157 does is it stimulates blood flow to wherever you have the inflammation at, right? So if you have that wrist injury, you subcutaneously, you do a little injection, which sounds kind of scary, right? But your body doesn't digest it very well through the stomach. Your stomach acids are just going to destroy the amino acids. So you could do it subcutaneously or site injection. And so something like that, that's basically just a supplement for tendons and ligaments. It's also good for leaky gut. Also helps with inflammation. So for me, whenever I get my injuries, which I constantly do BPC 157 for a week and a half, then you get over the injury.
And where do you get that from?
So I actually have a doctor that does prescribe them. So you can get them through your doctor.
Okay. And
then there's other, websites, but other questionable places where you can get them. I recommend Blue Sky Peptides. They seem to be pretty highly tested, and we've been using it on and off for about 6 years. So they're higher.
From America or somewhere else?
I don't believe so. No.
That's the problem. Joe Rogan keeps pointing out that they're not made here.
Yeah. A lot of time. Well, it's the cross contamination and heavy metals that sometimes can be in them. So like I said, there's a risk for everything.
Yeah.
There certainly is a risk with something like that. But if I were to look at the risk from taking a BPC 157 from somewhat of I think they're pretty credible, versus a cortisone shot, I'll take the BPC 157 10 times to 0.
For sure. Where do you get the information from? Like, how did you find out about the peptides?
So this is, again, this all started bro science. Like right now we're so lucky that we have like these information gurus like Huberman who talks about it, who can break down, how the supplements work.
Yeah.
But this was all like power lifters and bodybuilders, right?
Because Big Pharma is not going to allow that information on their end. So,
yeah. So this was just all like these old school power lifters who was like, oh, you have an injury, take this. And you'd be like, what? What the are you kidding me? Like, you want me to jam an insulin needle in my shoulder? I'm like, dude, no way. And then you get to look at it a little bit more in depth and you understand how it actually works. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. I guess that's really not that big of a deal. And then it fucking works. Like, that's insane. So actually, the first time I really used it, I was very hesitant because I was like, dude, I don't know what this shit is. I'm not like, I don't know. Like, what is this drug? Like, I don't know. But so when I had that back surgery, I told you I couldn't walk for like almost a year, right? And then about like that, like 8 months in, I was like, okay, what works? Anything. Tell me anything. I'll take it. I don't give a shit. I'm going through all the pain meds, all the doctors, doing whatever they say. All they want to do is give you opiates and have you not move. I'm like, this is fucked. And so I made some calls, and then I got BPC 157 and TB 500, and ejected straight into my back, right to where the injury site was. And by doing that for 2 weeks, I doubled the amount of like I doubled how far I could walk, and within a month, I could walk 4 or 5 blocks, and then by consistently doing that, like it decreased the inflammation so much, right, and just signaled my body just to repair all the inflammation around that. It's like I don't know if I would have ever gotten over that acute hump, right, where it was chronic, right, but to an extent it was acute because it was surgery. Like I don't know if I would have ever gotten over that hump if not for those peptides, which basically signal to repair those tendons and ligaments where the injury site was. And so I'm like, how the fuck is this legal? It's not like technically illegal, but it's like it's a pretty gray area.
I mean, it's legal if you're not a pro athlete, if you don't like compete in any division.
I don't even know if they test for that. Do they test for
I heard
PPC
that
157?
they just had this. I think in the NFL, I think they're not allowed to. And also, I think in MMA, I think they're not allowed. Joe Rogan always like they had a guy on that really goes into depth about the peptides, and
Oh,
that
I
it's
think
just
I heard that. Yeah.
amino acid, but that a lot of when you don't compete, you can just take it legally.
Yeah.
But if you compete, sometimes they will say no.
Yeah.
Even though it just makes you recover quicker and it keeps you safer as
Yeah.
an athlete, so it's ridiculous.
Well, and that's another thing where I got into it. It was like they're like the guy who kind of coached me about it was basically working with some NFL athletes. Basically, in off season they would run it, right? Because they would destroy their fucking bodies, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna make a career out of this. I gotta last 7 years, right? Most people in NFL last like not even a year, realistically, right? And so they're like, what can I do in the off season? And they would blast this stuff, and their bodies would repair. And the same thing, you see this in the UFC all the time, like even for like Conor McGregor, right? He had the career-ending injury, right? And you looked at him and he was all jacked. I mean, he's probably doing PPC 157, TB 500. He's probably running some Orlin. He's probably doing growth. He's probably doing a bunch of testosterone. He's probably running D-ball. He's probably doing everything. But why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Like if you're trying to come over this injury and you're the best in the world, fucking you do whatever it takes, right? So it's like, yeah, I would do the same thing if I was him. And I mean, I did the same thing to an extent as me, but like, it's so much better than what you can get from your fucking doctor. It's fucking insane.
So you have a doctor that you trust?
It's
so hard to get a doctor that's not fat and fucking unhealthy these days.
I had a good one. I had a really good one.
I want like a Huberman doctor that's fucking ripped.
Dude, I know, right? It's like you call into a doctor and you go, "Let me see a picture."
Take off your shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, just straight up, dude.
Why are you telling me not to go in the fucking sun? Like, are you dumb? Like, I see how unhealthy you look. Like, you're literally like, and they don't ask me anything. Do you work out? Do you go in the sun? Do you ground yourself?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They're just like, well, your cholesterol is high, so
take this statin, right, and don't eat red meat, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're 400 pounds. Shut the fuck up. You got like you can see the chicken nuggets in your office. Get the fuck out of here. I mean, my older brother's a doctor, right?
Okay.
He doesn't give me any advice on any of this because he's very serious and he doesn't really. Like if it's not something that he can get specific literature on, he's not going to speak to it. Like he's very calculated, so he would never say like do this or don't. Like he would just say, "Hey, not my expertise," right, and just be like, "That's what it is." Although has some other partners that I have talked to that kind of like gave me their 2 cents on it, and they were like, "Yeah, it's not like there's risks, right? Like I can't prescribe you anything like that, but everything has risks." So it's like, well, like what's riskier? Like for you as a person, like, is it riskier to live in pain and do the same thing you've been doing for 7 years without a result? Or is it riskier to take these amino acid compounds for 6 months and see what happens. Fuck this. Yeah. Let me try it. Let me do something new. Let me do something different. And it fucking worked.
Dang.
Yeah.
What about the older I get, the more I'm thinking like if I eventually have to get on testosterone, because after 35 seems to lower and lower and lower and lower. Have you thought about this?
Yes, obviously. Well, I think that this conversation is like, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but like if you were to look, like there's statistics that show that a man today has half of the testosterone
No,
that their
for sure.
grandfather has.
I don't
Right.
think that's a conspiracy theory.
Well, the conspiracy theory is around the type of food and the food that we eat.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at like the nutrition from like fruits, vegetables, like an apple and an orange, you would have to eat 8 apples or 8 oranges to replicate 1 orange from your grandfather's day. So
Yeah.
I feel like the reason we have lower testosterone is a lower quality of food. Right.
But also like everything, no fabric, phones.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wearing like polyester shirts,
Yeah,
like
heated car seats
right.
for your like balls and stuff. I think that like there's what the water we drink.
Yep.
I mean the fluoride in the toothpaste,
Yeah.
porn consumption.
Yeah. Right.
Never ends.
So
Everything lowers the testosterone. Right?
absolutely. And I mean, think about it as well. Like for a majority of my work, I sit inside
Yeah.
in AC,
Yeah.
in a soft, cozy environment behind a computer, right? Doing shit. It's like, that's like versus if you're outside farming, working in the dirt, outside lifting shit in the sun,
Yeah.
sweating and eating, like you're gonna be more of a man if you do that. If you be more of a man, you're probably gonna have higher testosterone. So I think that there's just so many fucking factors that are going against us.
So that means like you got to do something about it.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so. Right. And so,
But like, where do you research that?
I mean, I get all my shit from 10X, right? So like from my, I test all my hormones, right? And so I supplement with TRT, right? But it's a very light dose of like 200 to 250 milligrams a week of testosterone cypionate. It's really light, but it just brings me to around 800 milligrams or 800. I can't remember the exact the number for the test, but it brings you within range. So I mean, that again, like I feel better off that. Like I said, I try to optimize with everything I can do. Looking back, maybe I could have done more conservative approaches, before doing, TRT. I think there are different things from lifestyle change and sleep and supplements and nutrition and working out, right? And, what you do during the day that will affect that. But at the end of the day, I would rather feel like, hey, if it seems reasonably safe at a reasonable dose and your body already creates testosterone, right? You're supplementing with testosterone as long as you're not shutting down your natural levels. It seems again, risk to reward. What's the risk to reward for that, right? And so I mean, it does make you think different as a man. Like testosterone is more of a goal-oriented like hormone. So people with higher testosterone have higher drive towards goals and achievement, where it makes it feel good. People with lower testosterone, they have less of that, right? And so, I mean, again, if you're trying to be a man, right, you would want to have the psychological effects of the hormones that make you a man. And if everything in your environment pushes you against that, well, maybe you should supplement for it. Maybe you shouldn't. Depends what you want to do. Depends on your risks versus reward. But again, I would say just on any of my friends ask me, I go, hey, go to your doctor, get everything tested, take their advice and just do it slow and conservative. But like, if it makes you feel better and it makes you healthier and it can increase your lifespan, then do it. If not, then don't do it. But first, you got to cut out the fucking processed foods. You got to stop being a fat piece of shit. You got to go to the gym. You got to get outside. You got to get sun. You got to take the supplements. Like, it's like people try to use that as a shortcut. And that's why it's such a jaded subject. But like, if you're doing everything else right, and then you test that, and then perhaps your testosterone is low, then yeah, sure. Right? So I justified it for myself. And then also like a lot of times with like head trauma and injuries can drastically affect hormones. and I've been punched in the head too many times. So I was like, yeah, it's probably had some effect on it. So I take a very, very conservative dose, but I feel, like I said, I feel a lot better. I do. So I don't know. You look pretty good. I don't think you need it, but maybe, I don't know. You could optimize. Who knows?
It's not 800. I know that.
Like
But-
your test.
Yeah. And I do cold plunge, eat mostly meat, sleep a lot. But it's definitely not 800. I think it's more in the 500, 600 last time I checked.
Well, even those tests themselves are extremely inaccurate.
Yeah. I know. And even, bro, they charged me $500 for that test. And then nobody ever went over it. I mean, I hate doctors and I hate the whole system. I really would want, like, I know there's other things online where you can, like, where they give you a better feedback. Yeah. Because, like you said, like, I don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
Because they even changed what the normal amount of testosterone should be than like 50 years ago. They even like lowered it, that it's okay to have lower testosterone.
What's the average?
Yes, exactly.
Right? The average today. And so
Yeah.
that's why, again, I think of
I
like,
mean, the average fitness level is also like fucking, you can walk pretty much, you know,
yeah.
and do like 10 burpees or something.
So, yeah. And that's
I don't want to be average. That's
No,
the thing. I want
fuck
to be
being
like
average.
the optimal man, like peak, right?
right. And you know,
Especially the older I get, like the closer I get to like 35.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and if you're like looking down that train, it's like, you know, people always talk about maybe it does decrease lifespan. Perhaps it does, right? But also, it's like, would you rather live 74 years as a fucking savage, right? Or would you rather live 82 years as a feeble piece of shit,
Exactly. That's an easy choice.
right? Like, depends what you want to do.
Yeah.
And like I said, who knows? I could change my tune on it when I'm 70, right? But until then, I feel like I've done enough research on it. I feel like it
Make
makes
you any angry?
I don't know.
Because that's
Not
like the
at all.
propaganda behind it, right?
Well, the
the
people,
skin, the anger. But did you know, bro, that the number one sex hormone for females
it's testosterone.
is testosterone?
Yeah.
It's the number one hormone in everybody. Also, a woman can have low testosterone and no sex drive. It's
Yeah.
important for everyone.
Yeah, I've had like women friends that have had their levels tested, and they need a supplement to increase their natural testosterone.
Yeah. It's
Right.
not just like I'm a man, I want to like bulk up kind of situation. It's more like maybe you're depressed, maybe you're fucking sad, maybe you just don't feel like yourself.
Yeah.
Not even like a man. It's more like about like even a woman not feeling fucking sexually attracted to anything. Like fucking, you know, binary, bipolar,
Yeah,
asexual, fucking just a blob alien that like maybe your testosterone is just wrecked.
what and that's where I go down like the rabbit hole. It's like if you were to look at like, you know, people's sexual orientation, right? And if you have lower testosterone, you're going to be less aggressive, right? To an extent, not that you're aggressive, right? But you're not going to like fucking stand at your ground.
Yeah. But how are you gonna like even like perform anything or lift anything without aggression? Even in the gym. It's just like where are you gonna dilate towards what goal? Like towards like hitting your woman or towards like performing in a important situation like your job or in the gym.
I mean,
Maybe aggression is the wrong
I think
word,
I think aggression would be the wrong word.
Yeah.
I think the word would be confidence, right?
But like when you pick up a barbell and you gotta perform a snatch, you can't do it like with a soft approach. It has to be a very firm, aggressive delivery.
I would say, yeah, explosive.
Explosive.
Right? It would be explosive, but that
Yes.
also for that, there's also its form, right? So it's like if you've done it a million times, you're more confident in your form, and you know how the bar trajectory is, and you can load up the weight and you progress or progressive overload. So I think confidence would help with that. And obviously, if you have low testosterone, you're not going to make perhaps the gains that you would if you had normal testosterone, right? But I mean, on the aspect of like the aggression side of that, you only get that from if you're doing crazy doses, like powerlifter, bodybuilder doses. And even for those people, it makes you more of what you are. If you're a fucking asshole, guess what? You take a lot of tests, you're going to be a real asshole all the time, right? So I don't think it, like, from what I've seen at least, I've never really taken that much to where I've never really been a, like, an angry person, right? If I ever have like any swing in emotions, it's usually just because I haven't slept well for a week or so, or stressed out. But I just think it's more of just it's an orchestra. Like your like hormones, or it's an orchestra. Like testosterone plays a part. You still need estrogen as a male, right? You need to make sure your growth hormones are in check. And there's just so many other things that are going into this, just to try to like think that ramping up one thing is going to make you super successful. That's like saying, okay, cool, I'm going to get super jacked by just eating like a bunch of protein. Well, guess what? If you're 180 pounds and you're eating 400 grams of protein a day, you're going to shit it out. So your body's going to use what it can, and then it's going to discharge the rest. And testosterone does the same thing with receptors. So I think that like for that, I think there's just so many different aspects of that. But I think those are just people, and I think those are people who put it like stigmas to stuff, and those are just assholes.
What about sauna?
I love a sauna.
You sauna?
Yeah. Well, as you know, I've been building the saunas,
Yeah.
right? And so, I guess I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it, because I was telling you I was building the saunas, and I do enjoy the stress release from it, just kind of getting in a sauna and just kind of mellowing out and relaxing. But for me, like my mentality with cold plunging is like sometimes I would like make myself kind of soft, because I'm like, oh, I want to let me sauna before I cold plunge, like do it after, right? So I enjoy it for like the relaxation. I enjoy it for it increases your natural growth hormone as well and helps with recovery. So I think it's very, very useful for that. It's a good modality. So yeah, I mean, I'm still a big fan. I use them 3 or 4 times a week. Especially for those days where you go to the gym and you start going through the movements, your body's just kind of not feeling it that day. Okay, cool. Take a recovery day, hit the sauna, go home, hit the cold plunge, eat some steak, chill out.
And what about I love it for sleep. I sleep so good. Yeah. But I think the first approach to the cold plunge was actually being at like a commercial spa and then going from the sauna directly in the cold plunge. That was like the first time where I was like, you want to get in the cold plunge, right?
Well,
Because
have you
so
done it like
steamed
back and
hot.
forth like
Yeah.
4 times?
Oh
That
yeah.
is a good that mental, that euphoric rush is wild.
Bro, I remember the first time doing it, I was like out of body experience. Me and my brother were fucking like laughing out wild in the cold plunge because we were like so out of it.
Yeah.
You have such a blood flow rush. You almost see yourself in the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And it's interesting too, like, when I go to the gym in the sauna, it's like, it almost makes me want to talk.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is. Like, we have the sauna where I go at Lifetime downtown in Austin. It's like, you go in there and it's just like, people just start naturally talking, right? Where it's like today, people don't really talk to people at the gym, right? You put your headphones in, you fucking do your thing, get out. But in the sauna, it's like, it just wakes up just this part of the brain where you're uncomfortable. You're just kind of like want to talk. And so I feel like it's a really good way to kind of like communicate with people, right? And so like, by doing that, I've seen these like gyms that open up that have the sauna and cold plunge. And I'm like, dude, what a great date idea. Like, like you go in there and you do something healthy for yourself and you still get like you're relaxed, but you have the natural endorphins rushing, and it's easier to talk and kind of communicate and kind of goof around. It's like, it gives you that kind of that uplifting feeling that people might use like alcohol for. So like, I think it's a really good like substitute for, for building relationships and communicating. But I mean, I fucking love all the benefits from it, man. I'm addicted to it for sure. That's why I'm building them.
And they will be a part of Subzero or their own brand?
They will be. It's just, it's something that I'm looking at. It's for the mass scale, it's going to take a while, right? Because it's just managing all the resources, and first thing is creating a superior product, right? So I'm not going to just create a sauna that's just like every other sauna, because then it's like, well, if there's one sauna company that does it really, really good, if I'm a consumer, I'd be like, well, these guys are building the best saunas for 20 years and it's the same price. Well, I will get that one, realistically, right? So the way I'm looking at it is like, okay, let me I'm flirting. I've been, building them for about 6 months and just kind of looking at how can I create something to solve a problem that others aren't. And so that's where I'm looking at, the saunas that I've been building, which have 2 kilowatt heaters that are smaller, really just kind of like 1 to 2 person sauna, where they're smaller, but you can plug them into the wall here at your house or at your apartment, right? Where most saunas, I think we were talking offline earlier about like a barrel sauna you used to have. They use these giant, 9 kilowatt or 6 kilowatt heaters, and you have to hardwire them into main service panel, right? So it's a barrier of resistance. It's a pain in the butt. It could cost $2,000 for permitting. Then you move. That's one other thing you got to do. It's like, it's kind of like a lot of resistance to that. So I'm gearing towards, designing them, and they do work, right? And that they work really well. And they're very, very enjoyable. So it will be a product, but until I perfect the product and I make sure that the numbers come out towards a fair price for the consumer, and I can scale it and I can purchase enough inventory so you're not waiting for 4 months to get it, I'll pull the trigger. But until then, it's just going to be kind of one-offs that I'll build for like myself or some friends here and there and just test them out. And that's kind of what I did in the early ages of Subzero as well. Is like build them, test them, try to break them, right? And break them within your community of friends. Sell them to 20 or 30 of your friends, let them use it, see when they break, and then fix it. And then see when they break and then fix it and then change the components and make sure you have something that lasts a long time, right? Because if you're going to put a year warranty on it, but you've only been doing them for 3 months, well, you could be shooting yourself in the foot when all this shit breaks. So I'm a little bit more conservative to scaling for a new product. I'd rather make sure that it's a bulletproof product. It works really well. And then I can also manage the inventory flow for it all, and get the logistics down, which is the backside of business that most consumers don't think about. But if you want to have a good customer experience, you need to make sure that you can handle any kind of issues that will happen, because they will, and then you need to be able to fix them, and you need to be able to fix them in a reasonable amount of time. So until I'm perfected all that, it'll be just more of just kind of a, I'll make one for you, but we'll see. You can DM me if you want. I might be able to make one for some for some people out there, but it's not going to be something on mass scale for probably about 12 months.
Yeah. Is there any other products you're interested in?
I'm getting really big into red light.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bro, yeah. Since I've been listening to Gary Brecker, I really like the grounding and people, especially when you're like not have access to sunlight or outside Earth, and you have money. I mean, there's great benefits in grounding and in red light.
Yeah. I have the grounding sheets for my bed.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Are they breathable?
To be honest with you, I don't really notice much of a difference. I really don't. I think it sounds good, right? I don't know. Like I said, it hasn't been something where
generally, or your sleep sucks.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. It's the worst. It's been like this since I've been a kid though. Could never sleep. I've tried everything. So even like last night, I go to bed at 10:30, 11. I bought an 8 sleep now, right?
Oh.
I literally have everything trying to help me. It's like even with that, because I would just wake up sweating. I looked at it. I went to sleep at 3:45. Just lay there, right? And so I just can't. For me, I've had to adjust my schedule because my sleep is so bad. It's so bad. But my body, no matter what, I can be getting up at 5:36 in the morning, work all day, be just exhausted, just brutally exhausted. Lay down, I close my eyes, and my head I just start thinking about, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. I text this person back. I had this conversation. Maybe I should have handled this a little bit differently. So next time in that situation, I should have said this. What would have been the outcome of that? And the brain just kind of goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And so for me, I'm like, how to quiet that, And so the sauna helps. If I'm looking at it to the outside, I go, okay, what works is quieting the mind. So giving yourself that time where you're not doing something during the day. So doing the sauna, doing a cold plunge, and just getting away from technology and just having that downtime, right? It helps with that. But still, my brain just kind of falls in this pattern of, my brain's always going. It's very hard to turn off. So, I mean, it's just sleep is something that's difficult, but I notice my body always goes down around 2 to 3, no matter what. Even I get up, get sunlight, work all day, 2 to 3. So I've had to adjust my schedule because, I would feel like shit. If say you want to get up, I want to get up at 5:30 too. But when I get 2.5 hours of sleep, right, I'm a zombie all day, right? And so I'm like, cool, let me adjust my personal schedule and I try to adjust my clock by getting the morning sunlight and by decreasing technology and using red light in the evening. But even with that, I feel like sometimes you're just wired a certain way, and so I'm trying to adjust that. But for me, it's like just that's what my body wants to do. I've tried everything, like everything. So it sucks, but then I just have to adjust around it, adjust your calendar. I get up at 9 now. It seems to work better. Kind of feel like a piece of shit when I get up at 9, but I mean, I'm way more productive in the day,
Yeah.
right? So that works for me. I mean, I wish it was a different way, but I guess you can't have everything, right?
Well, there's always going to be things that life throws you at, difficulties. But what about you said red light?
Mm-hmm.
So you want those beds that you like lay in, or things that you like sit in front, or what is it going to be?
So this again is like, I'll look into these things and be like, okay, now is not the time to do it from a scale, like a business scale, just because I don't want to be doing 4 things. I'd rather be doing one thing really, really good and putting all my eggs in Subzero, making the best product there is on the market. And just being able to, run that company efficiently and having just all my customers be very happy. So that's my main focus right now. I looked into opening up a corporate environment, like a recovery studio, and so I looked into this. I talked to some red light companies, as far as like manufacturing them, but that again, that's going to be, if I go down that road, that's going to be several years away. It's just too much to bite off right now, but I do like the benefits of it. Like I like even for me getting older, like collagen production, skin.
Even for your eyes.
It's good for your eyes as well.
We heard Brecke has his
Yeah.
eyes open in that
Yeah,
shade.
yeah. Yeah. So I think that's another thing that we could get if we were just outside all the time.
I know, because you focus always on something short, so your eyes weaken so much, because we used to always look into the field or into the land. That really gets your eye muscle working. If you always look at something in front of you, that's why nerds always have glasses.
Yeah.
It's not like a stigma. It's like because you always look at something short distance.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised we don't, dude. These freaking cell phones, bro, they're really good at just keeping you
Right.
locked. Man, these things, I had like throw my shit in the other room all the time. Otherwise, that thing will suck me in, man. These are brutal. So, like I said, I like the idea of the red light. I've used them on and off. It's not something I've had consistently. But again, it seems like the research is coming out, and that they seem like phenomenal products as far as like trying to optimize, your health and wellness. And maybe I'll try it out. Maybe it'll help my sleep. Who knows? Well, I'll fall back with you on that one. So we'll see what happens.
Have you tried those red glasses?
Yeah,
Probably,
man.
right? I've had somebody on that sells them. It's
Yeah.
interesting because it really works well on my wife and me.
Really? You guys use them at night?
So like, as soon as the sun is down, well, not anymore now, but like in the summer, like the last hour of your day, and you can still use your phone, you can still look at the lights, but they're completely red, and they will filter blue light 100%, and then it does make you fall asleep very quick
Yeah.
if you have problems with that.
Yeah. Well, so what?
Because there's people that have problems with falling asleep, and then there's people of like staying asleep, right?
I both. Yeah.
There's like 2 things, and then there's one more thing you should give a try. This is insane. So you go to your breakers and you pull them all. You pull all your breakers besides the one that is fridge, whatever you need. But like everything else you pull. And back in LA, I only had the cold plunge on because I need it in the morning, right? And then I had the fridge, and then sometimes I guess the dishwasher or but they're all have separate breakers. It makes it really easy because you can break everything else and you just leave those on, and you get this weird quietness of this like of no electricity around you, and you sleep like a fucking rock. And we've tried it. I didn't tell my wife and I did it or I didn't do it, and you can instantly tell the difference how insane you sleep without electricity. You're always this buzz, this like even here in the studio where you always have this like bzzz.
Yeah.
But then when you're like a very productive man like how you are, that's like a whole nother thing to shut that off, I guess. But
Yeah.
maybe something if to give a try.
So and like I mean, I'll try it, right? And like I try to do that as well with my Wi-Fi. I turn the Wi-Fi off. I put my phone in my put it in my bathroom because I use my I have 3 alarms because my sleep like I would get in the habit of like my phone would ring and I turn off the alarm without knowing it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what the how did I was asleep when I turned it off. So I have my alarm on the 8 sleep. I have my phone alarm in the other room, and I have an alarm clock. Because otherwise, I'll just like, oh, what's going on? And plus, I got to get out of bed. Otherwise, I'll just sometimes it's hard to get up. But yeah, I like the Wi-Fi off. And the other thing I was trying to do, there's a setting in your phone where you can turn it to grayscale. Have you tried that?
Where it's all red?
It's black and white. And so that's something that I'll do when like the day's coming to an end, right? And I just like it makes social media and everything in your phone less interesting because there's not the colors and the things that pop that like seem like, oh wow, look at this, cool,
Yeah.
right? It's like if your TV was in black and white, it's kind of like, oh, what's wrong with it? It's kind
Or
of
your porn.
yeah, or your porn, right? I've never seen that. I'm just going way back. Right. But it just decreases the stimulation from that.
Yeah.
So I've tried that as well. But dude, even like, bro, I was born and raised on a farm, like literally a dirt road farm. No. Even as a kid, I had the same shit. Like, no, I didn't have any businesses, right? I was a fucking kid, and still sleep was the same. Always been that way. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe the breakers don't work.
Yeah, maybe the break. I don't know. We can try them. Who knows, dude? Who knows? Maybe just got to get off the grid or something, sleep outside. I don't know. We'll try it, but
It's almost like sleeping in a tent. Not really, but closer, I guess.
Yeah.
Than sleeping with the. Once the lights don't work in your bedroom and like there's nothing on, it's a weird feeling. This weird silence.
Silence. Yeah, it's scary how silence is.
It's a weird silence
scary.
without electricity.
Yeah.
Electricity makes noise that you cannot like hear, but you feel it. You feel the electricity around you.
Yeah, I mean that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
You're going to be getting a lot of that if you go back to LA.
Oh yeah.
Does that worry you? Like, are you like, I mean, like, are you excited like to go back? Is it something you're fighting with? Like, it seems, I don't know, by your face, it's like I don't know.
Well, I miss it.
Yeah. What do you miss?
The sun.
The sun. Oh, dude, you've been here for what, 3 months?
The not being inside.
Really?
It's like almost like an outdoor living where everything is always open at all times, kind of. Like every window, every door. You never feel like you're in a house, kind of. You always have the doors
the
open.
Humidity, right? Yeah.
It's not humid.
Yeah.
It's like almost dry.
Yeah.
But you always have everything open, and there's always like. I miss that, and also it's just hard to do there is people don't know this, but there is a unfair advantage you get when you're in LA as a influencer, which is the algorithm. So as example, at TikTok, I don't know if you noticed when you travel that, but even let's say you go to Thailand, you will see on your For You page, you will see Thailand TikToks. And if you post your content, every person in Thailand around you will be like, I don't fuck with that. It's English. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And will swipe away, and your content will instantly die out, kind of. So imagine you're like in a place like LA where you have, I don't know, 10 million kids on TikTok instantly around you, kind of. It gives you that unfair advantage that like even in Austria growing up, you can never go viral that easy than being there, kind of, because it is location based.
What can you just set a VPN?
I tried, but it also like it knows like if you post from a phone, it knows if you post from a computer. I tried a couple VPNs out, but it seems like that it's different if you post in different places.
Well, I mean, I could definitely see how it would be better for business.
Yeah, and
right?
then also you have, of course, the locations that people know. It's like almost like GTA. You know, you know the Rodeo Drive, you know the palm trees, you know the Santa Monica, Venice. It's like you're almost like in your own little Hollywood movie, if that makes sense. Like where people just know these places and they're like obsessed with it. And like if you're at Rodeo Drive, you will instantly. It's like almost like having a Lambo in your video, where you like you. It's a cheat code. Or like the money stacks or something like that is like very attractive, like a Lamborghini or cash or like the gold that you're wearing. It's just more attractive to look at. Like that's why you chose to wear like your details, because it's nicer to look at. It's like it favors you and it's more attractive to the viewer. I feel like.
I mean, I guess it would only make sense, right? I mean, especially that environment.
Because
So yeah,
I've been doing social media in Austria too, and it would just never work.
how'd you get into this shit? How long you been doing this?
Like 12 years, 13 years.
Why? Like what? Like I mean, it's like I don't like how like were you just like, oh cool, phone with a camera, let me fucking be crazy? Like what? Like how did you like? Why'd you start being Candy Ken?
My strategy is I was 10 years the only child, and then my brother came into the world. And then I had to do something to shine. I think that's like the subconscious motivation behind it, because like I need to get now. I've like 10 years I was like the king of my family,
Yeah,
right? My
only
mom
child.
was only child. I get everything. My mom is always home, and then suddenly you have this like little baby, and now you're not the center of attention anymore, kind of. And even though I love my brother, I now had to find something to shine, kind of. And I don't know, I always wanted to be famous growing up. I don't know if it's the propaganda that like everybody in Europe always watches Hollywood. You see the YouTubers, everybody watches Mr. Beast. It's like you grow up, and I'm also like a Leo, and I always wanted to be the center of attention, kind of.
Do you
Even
want
as a kid, like
with the fame side of things, right? Do you want to be? Do you want what fame brings, like the financial freedom of fame, or do you want to be like walking down the street and people try to take a picture? Like, what's the
that.
you want the pictures?
I want to like, I don't know. I always wanted to like have them in front of the house, like waiting, paparazzi. I don't know.
Doesn't that get exhausting?
I don't know. Not when you choose it. I feel like it's. I don't know. I always like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to be like noticed, right?
Yeah.
For sure. Like, and especially now, like with like the generation, it's like, I guess I look at the other side is like, you know, if you're trying, like me thinking about like what fame is, it's like nothing I've ever like looked for, right? I mean, I've been popular in my friend groups to a certain extent, but it just seems exhausting. Like I would feel like sometimes people that try to get famous, do you ever find yourself like doing stuff just for other people that you don't want to do? Like, isn't there a pull and a drag towards that?
For sure.
Doesn't that
That's why.
like wouldn't that make you not feel good?
For sure. But I've met enough people where I see it eating them up, kind of keeping up a persona that they're not, especially with women, I would say, like Instagram models, where they have to keep up a certain person online that they don't look like, or they're not, you know? So when I don't know, I just grew up in like a really small town, 20,000 people, middle of Austria, always watching American media, right? And I always felt like insignificant. I would always watch like the Golden Globes or some award show. It would be like, I would miss it anyways because it's in the middle of the night, right? The time zones are all fucked up. You feel like you're not a part of culture. Like I felt like I am not a part of what's going on in the world. You feel insignificant, kind of like you feel like nothing matters and you'll never make it out of there as a teenager growing up there. You feel just, you never went to high school. You never had a football match. You never had this like whatever, and you see that shit all day, every day. In every movie, you see the high school, the quarterback, and like the lockers, and like it's so like glorified in media that when you go to your Austrian school, that is all like traditional in the Alps and like what people love nowadays, right? Like with like you walk to school and like you take a bus and there's no homeless and you drink the water out of the faucet and all that shit. But as a teenager, you like really admire the American life. Kind of, you think it's so fucking cool. Like you watch High School Musical and you're like, shit, man, this is insane. Like, I want to do that, you know. And I always wanted to be a part of that, like that thing that like people talk about and like what's going on, kind of.
Now that you've had a taste of it, is it as cool as you thought?
Well, yes and no. I think it's pretty cool. It's it's nice to be recognized
Mm-hmm.
for sure. No, and it's I don't know it feels cool to like that's why you feel like when you're in LA, I guess you feel like a little bit like you're on the pulse of what's happening, kind of like.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I popped up on TikTok because I found out before everybody else. It's another thing. There, everybody knew already. All of America didn't know, and the rest Europe, like they find out now. Like they found out in the pandemic. I was already on TikTok in 2019 when there was no pandemic. We were like killing it on there, and nobody even knew about it. Kind of like it was considered cringe, and then everybody else found out later, and you get that spike, that unfair advantage of everybody else to be on there first.
Mm-hmm.
You make yourself a name, and suddenly things just roll. And that's when I was like, wow, this is like crazy, because if I was in Europe, I would have found out too late, because I found out about wine like too late when everybody was already like on it,
Yeah.
as an example.
Hmm.
And also like the first people that made it on Vine are now like Logan Paul, David Dobrik, Amanda Cernis, all these like people. Even the like they got it first step in, kind of.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense.
Timing is huge.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, of course, timing, like that's something that you can't, I mean, you can control, right? If you see something coming, you have your finger in the pulse, you can go heavy into it. But it's also like, you have to have good content, right? You have to be entertaining. You have to be, someone they want to follow you. Like if they see 5 of your videos and want to unfollow you, right? So it's like your content still has to be good. I mean, you would know more than I do. I'm not famous on anything, really. Not, I don't think so, at least, unless there's someone made a fake TikTok of me. But if so, hit me up, please. I'll take a taste of the fame. So that's interesting. So you're. I mean, it's a business move to go back to LA.
I would say so.
Yeah.
It's more, of course, for the children, like you said, I would rather raise them here, safer. The seems like people are more have like they go to church, they believe in something.
Yeah.
They're not freaking crazy about gender neutral bathrooms, and like they don't go like fucking apeshit on like laws, and you pay less, and it's a nice way of living for sure.
Yeah.
But I always feel like there's like these parents, like you lose yourself with your kid, and you're not no use to your kid pretty much, just because you give your kid the world, kind of. A lot of times I feel like if I thrive, my kid has more. To have like a happy dad that like is successful is better for him than me like living in the safest environment with the best school and like giving him like the best food, sometimes you need a little struggle to like, you can't give him everything, and like it's better if I'm like very present and very happy.
Yeah.
Better to have happy parents than like if they suffer for the kid, kind of.
I mean, mine were the opposite of that. I mean, they were happy, but they worked their face off, So I guess it's just like, I was listening to a podcast, and essentially they were saying, like children, like the first 7 years of their life is like the most critical, right? Because it like develops like who they are as a person for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
That they're just such a sponge and they absorb so much shit, right? So like if that's true, say that's true, right? Would it still be worth it to go to LA and have them subject to the California crazy shit that it just seems like they're so sideways? Like would that like would you be able to like like protect them from that? Like isn't that like a fear? Like I don't know if it's just for you. Like I don't have kids. It just seems scary, like the way that people act out there.
I think it's not that much better here. Like the public schools and schools in general is one big, even in Austria, schools is just one prison that will make you train to bend down and not question authority, right?
For sure.
I've not like so I go out of my house and I see down the street a DHL worker had a heart attack, and I was like 30 minutes late, maybe 10. I just went out with my son, and I see that he's in a body bag on the floor, and there's a bunch of sheriffs and then like some neighbors on the phone, and I asked what was going on, and they he was holding his chest, and then they called 911. But no CPR, nobody did anything. Just let the man die. And I was like, holy shit! Not even that they teach you in school, to save another human life. I mean, that's like, you don't maybe you don't need to prepare humans to make a lot of money. I get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you don't need, everybody can't be a CEO. Not everybody can start a Subzero, cold plunge. People there needs to be Amazon workers, and there needs to be
For sure.
normal jobs. And some people like that, to
Yeah.
just know what they don't want to like be employing a bunch of people and have this responsibility. But I think at least everybody should be prepared. If someone of us has a heart attack, we need to know what to do, or your kid or anybody,
Yeah.
right? So and I was like, shit, man, not even that. People can't even save a human life. They'll just let them die. Like
Well,
that.
isn't that your job though?
What do you mean?
To teach your kids CPR?
Yeah, I guess.
Right? Like, I mean, I feel like part of it too is like,
I guess.
maybe if you like, I mean, we shouldn't rely on schools for that, because we know that schools are just social programming.
Yeah.
They're not going to teach them any. What did you learn? What do you use now that you learned in high school? Like nothing, really, right?
Only the thought of fighting against the system, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
The rebellion.
Right.
That's the only thing I use.
So, I guess maybe it's just it's up to you. Right, it's up to the parents. It's up to your leadership and what you teach the children. That's going to have the impact.
That's why I think that it's not so different, LA to Texas, because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility.
Yeah,
Texas is not going to fix the education of your kid, or it's up to you.
yeah,
And if you're not happy, you will be busy fixing yourself than teaching your kid CPR, I guess.
yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, that's cool that you that you've identified that too. And I mean, obviously, you're in a position now, which I'm sure it's very challenging for people, having kids and getting momentum with their career and then going, shit. Okay, pivot. Whoops. Sorry. We tried, but we got to make sure that we're going to support the family, and take that step back, or not step back, but move back. So, yeah, I mean, that's life though, man. I guess I'll have to go fly out there, right?
You got to try it out. I don't know. There's something about the sun. I love sun.
Yeah,
I need it every day. I cannot do this. I don't know, if you have the money to decide where you live, I would never live in a place where you don't get the sun. I think I just wouldn't.
But you get the sun in Austin. You just came in the middle of the winter, bro. Give it 2 months. You'll be fine. Right. And you're also not in Austin, right? You're pretty far, an hour out roughly. Right. So like if you're looking for like the vibe of a city, like it still has that vibe. Like for me, it's like I've been here for like 10 years on and off. I've moved all around to an extent, but I always came back.
But what about the exposing your skin to sun?
Yeah. The sun out in here is intense. In the summer, it's brutal.
Maybe too intense.
I'm an intense guy. I guess I like it. No, I think that like, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't lived there long enough to have an advice on it.
That's the thing. I think I'm down for it, but the family is not.
Yeah.
That's because I was down. I'm down.
Yeah.
To do this, right? But wife and kids are not. They're not that tough.
Well,
kids and wife is not that tough,
Well, perhaps for them, it's like, I mean, wouldn't you like if you're a wife and had kids, you just want like the stability and safety and security.
Yeah.
Right. And it seems like this place offers a lot of that versus.
But it also like maybe boredom and being a lot at home compared to LA,
Yeah, but if you move anywhere, the first couple of months, you're like, where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah.
Right. Your wife's been pregnant, bro. It's like, yeah, sorry you haven't had the best time, right? Your wife's like, yeah, me neither, bro, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I think I don't know. I'm just in love with this city. I'm in love with the state. Like, I love all that it has to offer. And I feel like once you get to know, like, as you continue to grow your resources out here and you get to know, like, the people and what they do, like, you'll find your niche. But, like, what do you do for fun? Like, I mean, I know you work out, like, and podcast and do social media, like, what was it? Like, what would you do out there? What would you do for fun? Like, fucking say it's a weekend. I give you 10 grand. You have to spend it doing whatever you want to do. What do you do?
Like with kids or without kids?
As your life right now, what would you do?
Right now,
Yeah.
I'll go hunt.
Okay.
If I could do anything, hunt or jump out of an airplane, probably,
Okay.
or both.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, here in Texas, you can hunt out of a helicopter
yeah,
and shoot hogs.
I know.
I don't think you can do that in LA.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, obviously for you, it's a lot to think about, but I don't know.
It's just life becomes very different once you have kids,
Yeah.
especially when you don't want to give them to authorities or somebody else, kind of, you know.
How so?
Or you're just gonna spend a lot of time with them, and it's more like I don't see like the weekend anymore where you're like, what am I gonna do? It's more like let's go to a cool farm and look at some animals, or like
Yeah.
let's go to the beach, or let's do this. Like, you know, it's not really like I'm gonna go hunt, kind of.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you probably get more
And that will change.
yeah.
It's just like what you're dialed in right now when you have like I don't know, like 2 kids under 5, or you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, bro. I ain't got no kids. Not that I know of, at least. So it seems. I mean, I watched my. I mean, I watched my little brother have kids, and my God, did that dude turn into a fucking savage? Like, just morals, just work wise, business wise, just fucking did everything for him. I'm like, that's admirable, right? That's something you'd want to do. So I could see how it would definitely make you a better person, for sure, for sure, for sure. Right? I'm sure you're a better person now than you were before you met your wife.
For sure.
Right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's admirable, man. You know, you just got to do what's right for the family. But like I said, choices are hard, right? Especially moving and all that shit.
Yeah. What about you?
What about me?
Are you gonna have kids?
Oh, for sure, totally. I can't wait. Like, you know, as I've been like younger, I'm like, oh, dude, never. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want that. And then you get a little bit older, and then like,
It's funny how that changes, right?
well, it changes because it's like you can only do like The Bachelor for so long,
Yeah.
right? Where it just kind of becomes monotonous.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, you know, like,
But you do gotta do it before you settle down, I feel like.
yeah, you know, obviously you'd want to get out of your system. You want to
Yeah.
have some good times, right? But I feel like there's chapters of life, and there's a time and a place for everything. And not that I'm like trying to get married and have kids right now, but I've seen how it changed my friends' lives, right? Where they've had the kids, and they've dialed their shit in, right? They've become a better person. They've become more responsible, right? They're better at their jobs. They're more productive. They're more efficient. They manage their time better. I'm like, okay, cool. That's more admirable, right? Because you have a way bigger pull for your family to do what's right for them versus if you're just a bachelor and you're out there just chasing tail all the time, it's like I could work, you know, all day. And then if I want to go out on a date or go out, yeah, sure I can. But it's like those are lower frequency pulls. Like the vibrations is like you're going out just to like meet some people, mingle, have some fun, you meet a new girl, this and that. Like that's cool in the 20s. That's fun, right? And like now it's just kind of like, been there, done that. It's like going to the bar. It's like I like to go to the bar here and there, but like going to the bar all the time, I'm like, dude, I know what happens. I've been there so many times, right? It's like it's the same night on repeat. It's Groundhog's Day, right? And so life becomes monotonous when you're just kind of doing the same thing over and over. And so there has to be a change at some point in time. I'm not rushing it, but I see the value in it. So it's something I'm obviously open for, but it's not something I'm trying to be like, who wants to get pregnant right now? Because there's plenty of those. You just find any woman who's 29. Time is ticking, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool.
And what about how is dating these days?
Man, that's one thing that social media is, man, it's been fucked. Like it's
Right?
not fucked. It's just the amount of the amount of options out there.
Yeah.
It just makes everyone feel dispensable, right? Like
Sounds disgusting, yeah.
it is. It is, and that's why like I had to get off like I've had all the dating apps before, you know, like the Tinder, the Bumble, the Hinge, and I just had to get off of them, right? Because it's like it's just shallow, right? And then especially if, like when people date, they look at your social media, right? And they go, "Ooh, this is good. Oh, okay, we've got some followers, got some traction. Seems cool." right? And then it's just like you can always find something better. Always find something better. And so, especially, for women at no fault of their own, I think women should be looking at themselves as like, what's the best man I can find? I want him to be rich. I want him to be successful. I want to have a good friend group. I want to be able to travel. I want support. I want him to fucking be able to stand his ground. Like, let me put all that in a package, right? And get the best that I can. And so, women, they should be dating around in the early 20s and trying to find that person. But I think what's happened is because of the large amount of opportunity and people that you can't have potential relationships with, people stay in that phase for too long. Right. And I've noticed that in any kind of hub or wherever there's a lot of people, there's just so much opportunity for the next best thing that people get stuck in that loop. And social media and dating apps just reinforce that, where it's harder to get, generally, it's more challenging to get like a stable, solid relationship because there's all these other sparkly, interesting things that you can go do this and that. And so it's been challenged, like
So you
not
do it in
challenging.
person now, or you changed to a meeting in person?
Yeah, I don't really meet like I've been in Austin for so long. Like I know, like I mean everyone through my friend groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I like I call them referrals, right? It's like I mostly like date off referrals because I want to date or like go out with people that I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And have some kind of reputation behind and some kind of like communication with their friend group, right? Because if you've ever used like the social media platforms, like you don't know who this person, like the dating apps, it's like you don't really know who this person is. Like you know what they look like, hopefully, right? Right, kind of minus 1 point or 2 points from the Instagram filters, makeup, right angles, and all that good stuff. So you kind of just you don't really know people the first date, and you're always just kind of figuring out. And then usually people go on a couple dates, and then they find this one thing they don't like about them. So I don't really use that anymore. Like I said, I just kind of go through my friend groups. I go out and meet people. I see people a couple of times. I'd rather be able to look at someone and talk to them in person and like catch a vibe from them, and then see if that's interesting versus DMing people to see if they want to hang out or go to a comedy show or something. So maybe it's just me getting older, or maybe it's me getting a little bit smarter in the dating field, where I'm not trying to go out there and just cast a wide net and see what I can get. It's just kind of more, just a little bit more selective. I know what I'm looking for to an extent, but I mean, there's just so many options too. It becomes overwhelming.
Did you always know that you're gonna be like owning a company, or were you always like confident
I've always
to
been
work for yourself? And
Yeah, I mean, I've always been like confident, and that's a lot what like being an athlete, teaches you.
yeah,
Especially if you're a cage fighter, you have to be confident. You have to, otherwise you're getting your freaking teeth knocked in, and that happens sometimes too. But like you do gain confidence in yourself, and then just going through the motions of normal jobs, right? Like we've all been in a job where you're working something, and you see the boss and the leadership, and you're like, I can fucking do this better, right? Like I know I can do it better, but they're not going to give me the opportunity. So you go through that, you get the wisdom, and you go, let me do this for myself, right? Let me take the step back and do this for myself. But I mean, you do have to have confidence. You have to be a leader. You have to be able to work your face off. You have to make mistakes. You have to lose money, and you have to not quit. And so that's really challenging. Like it's super challenging. It's never like it's not the easy road for sure, like at all. Like I think of the times when I was just an employee and I was just in sales, making some good money, go home, work over. I'll get work tomorrow. Ah, there's the break, a little release, right?
yeah,
When you're own your own company,
never
it
ends.
never stops.
Yeah,
You can always do something better. You can
that's
always
why
be
you
something more.
lay at night in
Yeah,
bed.
that's probably it, right? So
Yeah,
honestly, that's probably
it's the
it,
same shit as an influencer.
right?
It never ends, bro.
Right.
Sunday night, you'll be answering emails. And you always think
Yeah.
about shit. I always have something to edit. There's always a TikTok to post. There's always a social media channel that lacks. There's always something you could do better.
Yeah. But I mean, that's like, there's people who enjoy the stress. Like, if I don't have the stress or I'm not working towards something, I don't feel good. Like, I need to have a challenge. I need to bite off a little bit more than I can chew. I need to be growing, and I need to feel the pressure that's going to make me move. So like those type of like just characteristic traits are going to drive people towards being more business oriented, or entrepreneurship, or pushing against the system. Those things happen, right? So like I feel like we're cut from the same cloth in that type of mentality. So it's a natural progression towards that, right? And so it's generally going to happen at some time or later for that type of person. So I wouldn't have it any other way. But I always knew, like I've always been somewhat of an entrepreneur myself. Like you just basically look at like problems and how to solve them, and then who can solve them the best wins. And so I like the game of that. It's enjoyable because that game never ends. And that's one thing that happened, when my career, my athletic career ended. Right, it was taken from me in my mind because it wasn't my choice to get injured and retire. There's nothing I could do. I can't go back into training. I can't go back into a cage. It's not going to happen. My body's going to fall apart. I'll never be able to compete. But there's nothing that will ever stop me from competing in the game of business. This is a competition that never ends. And you will be successful if you never fucking quit. So as long as you keep on going forward, you keep on fucking figuring out the little things, you got a competition that no one can ever fucking take from you as long as you don't quit. And I like that.
That's the definition of success. It's getting back up.
The process of it, at least, right? Like mentality wise. But that's why, it's like I said, it's draining, but it's fun. It's a fun game to play.
Yeah. I like what you said about you work a normal job or you meet somebody and you're like, I can do that better. Because that's what happened. I was in Berlin. I was a photographer, studied photography, and I met a couple celebrities. And when you like photograph them,
I'm gonna drink a Red Bull.
and I was like, I can do that better. You're an idiot. I met some rappers and like some celebrities, and I was like, holy shit, I thought guys were so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they say never meet your idols, because you're like, fuck, man, I don't know. We're kind of the same. It's not even that they're so disappointing. It's more like that you put them on a pedestal and then they fall off, kind of, and you're like, shit, bro, you got nothing on me.
Yeah.
That's when I met a couple, and I was like, I can do that much better.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like that's part of it, and it's not everyone has that, and sometimes it's confusing for me to see people just be like, yeah, this is good.
But don't you think the gym is the ultimate, it's like the ultimate life teacher for me? Because like nobody's born with muscles and ripped, right? So everybody starts kind of the same. Like obviously there's differences, but you kind of like everybody sucks, right? And eventually, after forcing yourself over and over, you'll get better.
Yeah.
And you learn that, like you said, like with not giving up, the people that give up, they lose, and you don't lose because you keep hammering, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for everything. And once you learn it in the gym, which is a very easy way to learn it, you can just adapt that to everything in life, with your partner, with your business, with money, whatever you want. If you keep hammering and you're smart about it, you'll succeed.
Yeah, and I really think that like literally anyone that's in good shape, right? They have what it takes to be successful in another realm of life, of business.
Like how
right?
you did, you just pivot.
No, you pivot, right? Because it's like if you can figure out your diet, and if you can go to the gym and do shit you don't want to do, and then you can perfect your body, and then you can continuously improve it. Go, okay, cool. Upper body needs a little bit more work. I've been doing this. Let me change this. Let me look at this platform. Let me tweak and adjust, tweak and adjust, tweak and adjust. You do that for years, right? Now you have a result that goes, okay, cool. This guy knows what he's doing, right? You solved the problem of how to get in shape, right? So if you can continue pushing forward and doing shit you don't want to do and solve problems, you have what it takes to be successful. So that mentality is already there. Go to the gym. If I were to look for a business partner at a gym without fucking talking to anyone, I would just think, okay, who here is in fucking really good shape and has their shit together? That person is going to be a lot more fucking dedicated and a lot more consistent, right? Dedication and consistency, that's what's going to make anyone successful.
Discipline.
Just doing shit you don't want to do all day and pretending like you like it. Yeah. That's half the time when you go to the gym, right? Like we want to go lift fucking back and shoulders. Let's go, bro. We can end this right now, dude. Let's get a pump. It's like, okay, cool. You want to do front squats, hack squats? Did you do 20 rep back squats? Feel failure, right? Well, I don't know. I got a little busy. I don't know if I can, right? It's like mentally, you're like, I don't want to fucking do that workout. But you do that. And then everything else comes together. So it's like that mentality. That's why fucking athletics and shit for these younger kids, like fucking getting that shit, hammer it. Fucking hammer that shit and build your mind and build your body. That fucking confidence rolls over to everything. All these little pussy ass kids that wimp, fucking can't work out, afraid, like don't want to eat the right foods. It doesn't taste good. Don't fuck. It does. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, fucking eat it anyways. Right. They have to develop that type of mentality. It's like, that's this like that soft pussyfooting around. It's like, man, you got to get over that. Like you just like, and that's just going to build people into like, success, or at least a successful mentality. So,
How did you get over that?
over what?
Being a bitch. Like you were never a bitch, or your father, or
My dad was a hard ass. Like we were raised on a farm, so it was like, if I'm looking back to my childhood, it was always like I always had to do shit I didn't want to do, right? Like it was always we had a full farm, so chickens, cows, pigs, horses, gardens, everything. So it was like you get up, and this was in Chicagoland, not the Chicago, but on a farm, and so it's like you get up, you go work in the stalls for an hour and a half, covered in shit, cleaning them out, right? Then you get cleaned up, go to school, do the shit you don't want to do. Then after school, we lift weights in the basement, the brothers, right? And then work on the cows, then eat dinner, go to sleep. It wasn't a choice. I never had an option to say no. It was get the fuck up. Come on, let's go. Got shit to do. You're burning time. Get up now. And then the weekends, cool. All right, time to chop wood. Wood burner stove. Good. Get out there, chop wood. 4 or 5 hours. Okay, cool. All right, we can hang out now. But it's like I always learned that like I had the mentality of like, working towards something to enjoy something, right? And even like when it came to like being in college and like drinking, like it was like, cool, I'll go out and drink. My dad's like, okay, cool. Go on out. Up at 7. I'll wake up hungover as fuck. It's fine. You'll work it off. Fucking chop the wood. You'll sweat it out. You'll feel better. You'll feel better once you get up and start moving. And you would. Hungover as shit. So it's like if you ever get a hangover, just fucking go to the gym. Whatever you don't want to do when you're hungover, do that shit. Do 2 hours of that shit. There's no hangover after that to an extent. Right? So that was just kind of like the mentality that I had as a child. Was just like, it wasn't really like my choice. Right? And so like even now to this day, I still have like, we have the voices in our head where it's like, I don't want to do that, but you fucking should. I don't really want to do that right now. Like, just take a little bit. No, but you really fucking should. You should. You got to go do that. You got to take care of it because if you don't take care of it now, you're going to take care of it later and your day's going to get away from you. And so it's like, I still have that voice in the back of my head, which was really my father as well as growing up. It was like, this isn't a choice. This is what you're going to do. And so, that for me just kind of like, I have those two voices in my head where I always never want to do shit. Like I would have loved to sleep in this morning after sleeping for 2.5 hours, right? But it's like, nope, you said you were doing it because you said you're doing it. That's what you do. And like, it's just like, that's not me though. Like that's not my choice. That was my father's choice. And that's still in my head. And that's what I believe that drove me and my brothers to success. All of them are successful. But it wasn't our choice. It wasn't us. It's not me. It was my parents.
So you're thankful for that?
Fuck yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And like as a kid, I fucking hated my dad. Because he was like a dick, dude. He was just work all the time and then come home and then make me do work. I'm like, this guy's I'm like, I literally want to fucking go skateboard with my friends instead of fucking being up to my fucking knees in fucking pig shit. I never fucking wanted to do that. Ever. Never. Right? But like doing all that shit that you don't want to do, right? It makes you a better person. It makes you more resilient. It makes you stronger. It makes you more successful. It makes you more likable. Who wants to fucking hang out with someone who has a fucking like little pussyfoot life, doesn't have any resistance, everything's taken care of, That's why all these trust fund babies and shit, they have the highest amount of suicide and fucking mental disorders out of anyone because they never had a challenge and never had resistance. So like, I embrace the suck. I enjoy it. I enjoy the discomfort, not in the time, but what it brings. So thanks for that, Dad. Right? But I don't think there would have been any other way around it. If I could have slept in and played video games, I would probably be working at Best Buy. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? I would have never been there. But like I said, I don't think this was my choice.
So now, if you have a son and you don't have to farm, how are you gonna make him resilient?
I'll get a farm.
You'll get a farm?
Yeah. Yeah.
You miss the farm?
I don't miss, like, I do and I don't. Right. So like, the way I always looked at it is like, you know, whenever that time comes, I for sure will get out of the city. Right. Because the city, there's too many options, too many things to do, too many distractions. Right. When you're raised on a farm, it's like you know what there's to do because the work's in front of you. It's physical. Like you can see the pig shit stack up and you know it has to be taken care of. There's no choice really not to do it. You have to do it either now or in a little bit, but you can't not do it. So I liked the work ethic that came from a farm. I liked the being on the land of being with the farm. I like the lessons that it brought, and I like the schedule and routine. And so, I mean, being raised that way, I was like, get me the fuck out of here. Like, I'm going to California, right? And then you go out there and you go to the city and then you do this stuff. And it's like, cool, it's fun. It's a fun way for bachelor life. But, you know, at the end of the day, like when that time comes, yeah, for sure. I'll for sure have a ranch with 100%, without a doubt.
Maybe how do I get a Subzero cold plunge?
Subzero plunge.com, Subzero plunge on Instagram, Subzero plunge on Facebook, Subzero plunge on TikTok, or DM Tim K411 and I'll hook you up too.
Amazing. Thank you.
Cool. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for letting me here in your house and sharing half of Red Bull with me. Cool, brother. All right, let's hit a plunge. Let's go.